abuse, the way, the why,
Music off, music
the
off.
what, when and how. As introduction, substance and drug abuse had become a challenging social and health issue of our time. But the causes and social impact may not be so obvious to the average person. In order to bring home to every parent, young boy or girl out there, the dangers of being ensnared by substance abuse, we have invited officials of Jelinek, an expert institution which gives advice and treatment to substance abuse addicts, to this show. Join this broadcast now as we usher our guest to the microphone. Welcome to Radio Voice of Naija show, Mr. Ruel Kes Marcus. Is that?
Yes, that's right.
Well, we would like you to tell us and our listeners a bit of who you are and the work you are doing in Jelinek, and how long you have been involved in handling substance abuse cases.
Yes, well, I work at the Jelinek Center. That is an alcohol and drug treatment center in Amsterdam. We also try to prevent these problems to occur. So we put also a lot of effort in prevention. And indeed, we treat alcohol and substance abuse. The main drug is that young people use now is cannabis, marijuana or hash, and the people we treat, the biggest group we treat is alcohol problems, and the second one is heroin, and then cannabis, cocaine, and ecstasy. And I'm working in this field for almost 34 years now.
Wow.
So I have done a lot of experience
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, wow, wow. That is awesome. So, have you done other works before, or you became
No,
an
I've
expert in this one?
I've studied psychology. I studied psychology in Nijmegen, which is a city in the east. And I was always interested also in prevention. And so I got a job in this field. And indeed, I did a lot of prevention work, but also a lot of people I spoke to who deal with these problems.
Yeah, when you talk about prevention, can you throw a little bit light on that? Is it that you step in to make the people not to become drug addicts, or what do you mean by that, prevention?
Yes, by prevention, you try, for example, in schools, you try to prevent that people start to use, or at least you try to postpone use as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But also you try that if people start to use, that they stop with that, or that they use in a way that isn't that harmful. That of course you cannot do that with young kids, but when people are in their 20s, you can also talk about well, okay, the best choice of course is not to use, but if you use and you don't want to stop, try to use it in a way that doesn't harm you that much. For example, with cannabis, you can say, okay, if you only smoke one time a week, then maybe the problems will be moderate. But in schools, we do that among other things. We try to talk about alcohol and drugs in the lessons in school. We also try to talk about taking responsibility for yourself, making your own choices, and that kind of things. And of course it's also important how a school deals with these problems. What can you do as a school? But that you are alert on it, that you know how to react on it, that you know as a teacher what to do, and so we also put a lot of effort in that.
So, permit me to ask this question to you. So, why did you derive interest in that field of profession? Is it were you a victim of that, or how come your passion, developed on that side?
Yes, I understand. It had to do with studying psychology and with seeing a lot of people running into problems.
Yeah, okay.
And not alone addiction problems, but also problems with depression, problems with anxiety, etc., etc. And of course, if you study psychology, you also got a lot of theories about how to treat these people.
Yeah.
And how to help these people. But in a way, if you have to help them, you are already a little bit too late, because you can also try to prevent it. So I was always interested in prevention. What can you do to prevent these problems? How can you live in a healthy way so that maybe these problems don't occur? And so I was always interested in prevention. And well, when I finished my studies, I said, I want a job in this field. I want a job in prevention. And then I started to look, and there was a job in prevention on the Jelinek. So that's why I started to work there, and it was so interesting that I kept on working there.
Wow! Awesome! Now let's go into the topic. What actually is drug addiction or substance abuse?
Well, drug addiction is that people use a drug and long for a drug very heavily. They have a stark craving, a big craving for the drug. They are in fact completely obsessed by the drug.
Wow.
They also sometimes experience withdrawal symptoms if they can't use the drug. They need the drug to function in a normal way for themselves. So people, the factor of addiction is to have a stark, very big craving for the drug.
For the drug?
Yes.
What sort of drugs? Is it just any type of drug?
Yes, you have, of course, different. You can crave very low, you can have a very big craving for heroin, of course, for alcohol, but also for cannabis. People really want to use this drug and every day, for example. And if they don't have it, they feel uncomfortable and they want to use it. And yes.
Do you have any? How does this drug make them feel? I mean, having worked for 34 years, with your experience, you must be able to know why do they crave for it?
Well,
do they feel differently? What do they feel inside? What do they feel inside them? What do they feel inside them that make them crave for whatever?
Yeah, they feel a little bit. Most of the time, people get a very positive feeling if they start to use drug. They feel negative. They feel negative, and when they use, well, everything becomes light. Everything becomes more easy. They feel more happy. They don't feel anxiety anymore, and sometimes they even feel euphoric, so that everything is nice and everything is good, and well, and if you have such a positive feelings, it is in fact a reward center in your brain. And this reward center is stimulated by these drugs. And because of that, you feel so good and you feel so happy.
Mm-hmm.
And well, you can understand that if you always feel bad and always well think life is not bringing me what I want to have from it.
Yeah.
And then you use drugs, and then one time you feel good and you feel happy. Then of course it's quite logic that people start to take this drug again.
Do they really feel happy, or is it that do they really feel happy
In
when
the
they are
beginning.
taking it?
Yes, in the beginning. So you have always reasons why people start with drugs
Yeah.
and why people continue with drugs. And people start with drugs often because they like to experiment or they like to have a new experience or something like that. But then, if you always feel bad, if you are not happy, and start to use drugs, and then you feel happy for a moment. Of course, the next day these happy feelings are gone, but for the moment you feel happy.
Yes.
And that is what in fact happens. People feel happy and they try to do it again, and they feel happy again. And okay, in the beginning you have a good period, but of course you feel happy, but the consequence of that is that you mostly next day you feel unhappy.
Yeah.
So that is what happens on the long run. But in the
Wow.
beginning, you have a good time, and yeah, and then because you feel so happy, you try again, and again, and then you become, on a certain day, you
Addicted.
become addicted.
Yes.
And so that is the problem. And also you understand that if you already have some problems, if you already have a little bit of a problematic life, then the chance that you get addicted is much and much bigger than if everything is going well with you.
Wow.
And because if you use the drug, your problems are temporarily solved, only for 4 hours or 6 hours or so. But for the moment you feel good. But of course you have to pay for it the next day.
So, who actually exposed them to this drug thing from the onset?
Yeah.
Because I believe somebody must have recommended. If let's assume I'm not feeling fine, and then maybe I'm so depressed or anxious or I'm so somehow depressed. Let's assume that, okay?
Well, let's see.
But I would not go about thinking there's something like I don't have the experience, that there's something I'm gonna take that will make me happy. So to me, as a person, I would think, okay, I'll talk with people or some friends will come around me. I don't go about thinking about drugs. So who exposed them to this?
Imagine you are a young girl. You are a girl of 17 years old. You are with well, some friends, and and you and somebody has a joint, and you like this guy. The guy who has a joint, you like him. And you feel a little bit insecure, and you are walking on the street, and you are going to a little park, and you have fun with your friends, and he is smoking, and he asks you, try once. Do you want to try? And then maybe you start. It's sometimes that simple.
Yeah.
It's just it can be just among friends, and if you don't feel that good, then you will have a very good experience from this drug, and maybe you try again and you try again, and so that is the way it can start.
No, what
people go to a disco, and they are with friends and they are fun, and and some guy has a little pill, has a little ecstasy, and try once, and no, I don't want to try, and you have good fun if you use, and and then maybe you don't, but maybe next time when you are with the same people, then you think, okay, I see they don't have any problem, so why shouldn't I? And sometimes it's like that, but sometimes it's of course also Okay, drugs are available. That's not only in the Netherlands, but it's almost in every country. Drugs are always available. Some people have cannabis, some people have ecstasy. It's not always a dealer who is pushing you.
Yeah.
It is also sometimes friends, you know. Not that they are pushing you, but just they have it and they are making fun and they, you know, sometimes it goes.
So in other words, doctors do not prescribe these drugs we are talking about.
Of course, sometimes you will have dealers and who push a little bit. That can also happen. That there is a drugs dealer somewhere and asking you, and stimulates you to use. But mostly it starts. You were asking how does it start, and mostly it starts in fact among friends.
Friends.
And some, and not that they are pushing, you know, not always. It's not always pushing, but it's just it happens, and you like this guy, and you like the other guy, and they are using, and you think, okay, it's such a nice boy, and what is the problem? And you know, everybody is exaggerating the risks, and my parents are exaggerating the risks, and they don't know, and they think that you are addicted immediately, you know. So I can just try once, you know. So that's the way it often happens.
Yeah, it's okay. Wow. Well, if you're out there and you are listening to this important discussion going on substance abuse, give us a call on 020-737-1619. Radio Voice of Naija is bringing this live to you so that you can be aware of how these things come about. And if you know somebody who is in such a mess, I think there's a solution for them. We have an expert in the studio who is discussing on this topic. Feel free to give us a call on 020-737-1619. An expert from Jelinek,
which is an alcohol and drugs clinic,
yes,
treatment center.
Yes, alcohol and drug clinic center here in Amsterdam.
In Amsterdam.
Wow. Right. How significant is the substance abuse problem in our society today?
Well, it's quite a problem. I think but the biggest problem is still alcohol. We have the most, if you are talking about this, we have about 300,000 alcoholics.
Wow.
in our country.
300,000?
300,000 alcoholics, yes. So alcohol is the biggest problem. Then second, I think you talk about cannabis.
Yeah.
We have about 30 to 80,000 cannabis addicts. The exact figure is not well known, but we estimate it's about 30,000 to 80,000. Every year we treat about 10,000 cannabis addicts.
Wow.
So it is that is drug number 2.
Yes.
Then I think drug number 3 is the heroin. The heroin, the people who got addicted to heroin. And you know, this group of heroin addicts started to use already a long time ago. They started to use in the 80s, 1980.
Yes.
And in fact, there are not so many young people using heroin anymore. But we still have this group who started to use in 1980. So this group is about 40, 50 years on, is their average age.
Mm-hmm.
Average age is almost 50. And we still have in the Netherlands about 20 to 30,000 heroin addicts.
Wow.
So that is also a big problem. And then the drug number 4,
Yeah.
so we have alcohol, cannabis, heroin, and drug number 4 is cocaine.
Cocaine.
Cocaine, yes, that's number 4. And then, well, it becomes smaller. Then we have a little bit of amphetamine and speed, and gambling. We also treat gambling addicts. And every year we treat about 2,000 people who are addicted to gambling.
Wow. Very, very huge figures.
Yes, it's still a big problem. And then we didn't talk about tobacco. Yeah, we did, because we don't treat that many people to tobacco, but we all know that tobacco can be a quite addicted substance.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, this is 300,000 alcoholics in Netherlands?
Yes, in the Netherlands, yes. And then, yes, so that is the biggest problem. And you know, alcohol is if you drink it if you drink a lot, you don't, you got addicted, but you also run into a lot of physical problems.
Yeah.
And because it's bad for your body.
Yeah.
Also. So this is really a problematic group. Also.
So my question is addiction a lack of willpower or brain disorder?
Yes, I think it is both, but it is also, indeed, it is brain disorder. It is also...
Yes.
I was talking about this reward center in your brain, you know.
Yeah.
That you get, if this center is stimulated, you feel good. And we all have this reward center.
Yeah.
If we eat, for example, we feel a little bit good.
Yeah.
And that is... well, so this reward center gives you this positive feeling, and we need it because we need to eat to survive. So what has evolution done with us?
Yeah.
We need a center that stimulates us now and then, so that we survive, so that we eat, so that we have sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we are rewarded, and
Yeah.
then we continue this behavior.
Yeah.
Well, drugs are doing more or less the same. They also stimulate this reward center, and that is why we feel so good after drugs. Now, this reward center differs a little bit, person to person. Some persons have a better functioning reward center than another person, and you can imagine that if this center doesn't function that well,
Yeah.
and you start to use drugs, that this will have a huge impact on you. Because then the center for the first time is really stimulated. And so you were talking about brain disease. Maybe this can be one of the origins of addiction, that some persons have a better functioning reward center than other persons. And so if these persons with a bad function reward center, and with a reward center that doesn't function that well, they are more prone to become addicted than other drug users. You understand?
Yeah.
So there is something in the brains that probably cause addiction.
Addiction.
Yes.
Wow. Hey. Good information you are dishing out here. So most of these drugs that are being used, or are they illegal drugs?
Yes, in the Netherlands, in fact, all drugs are legal. We all know that you can buy cannabis in coffee shops.
Wow.
But in fact, if you look to the law quite closely, it is still illegal. But what we have said in the Netherlands, that is that if coffee shop met some criteria, don't sell to people under 18,
Yeah.
for example, then, well, the police does not intervene. The police doesn't react. They do like this.
Yeah.
And that is what we call this tolerance policy, and the policy of tolerance. But indeed, all drugs are legal. Only for cannabis we have made an exception. It is allowed to sell it in coffee shops. But alcohol is legal, tobacco is legal, gambling is legal, but heroin, cocaine, ecstasy, and all these drugs are forbidden. And cannabis, well, can be sold in coffee shops. Can be bought in coffee shops.
It's I can't really believe what I'm hearing. I'm telling you. So it's I'm just trying to process it and at the same time maintain focus. So how quickly can one become addicted?
Yeah, that differs with the different drugs. Some drugs are more addictive than other drugs, and I think drug number one is tobacco. Tobacco is in fact one of the most addictive drugs we have. If you start to use tobacco, then you will have withdrawal symptoms very quick.
What?
You will have withdrawal symptoms very quickly.
Yeah.
And the withdrawal symptoms of tobacco is in fact that you feel a little bit uneasy, a little bit unquiet.
Except you use it, you can't be yourself.
And then when you use it, you become
Yourself again.
You become relaxed again. So tobacco develops this thing very, very quickly.
Yes.
So with tobacco is a very addictive. Then number two is heroin. Heroin is also a very, very addictive substance. People get addicted in 6 weeks or something like that. When they start to use, you got addicted very rapidly. So heroin is a heavy drug. Then I think drug number three will be cocaine. Cocaine is also addictive, and at the same level probably alcohol and cocaine, but also cannabis. I think cannabis is number 5. And we always thought that cannabis isn't addictive, but now we have learned that it is that a lot of people want to stop and feel it's difficult for them to stop. They are so used to it, and they smoke every day, and then when they stop, they can't sleep anymore, they feel tense, they feel unhappy, and so cannabis is also can be addictive, and this is underestimated, because a long time people thought, well, cannabis is a soft drug, and you cannot become addicted to it, but now we have seen that this is probably not true for everybody, and that really some people got addicted and want to stop and experience difficulties.
Yeah. So, now in America, I believe you've been following CNN and all the rest, you can see that they are looking for a way to stop the gun addicts and all of those sort, shooting, because people can easily enter a shop and buy their own gun and all of those sort, So Americans are doing everything now to see a way to put a halt to that. There are a lot of protests going on right now in America for people to surrender their guns and be able to have dialogue with people without using their gun or their license to have gun to terrorize others. So that is America. So here in the Netherlands, what do you think we are struggling to stop?
To stop using drugs?
Yeah, no, what do you think? Just in America it's gone, but here in Netherlands, is it drugs?
Are
we obsessed with drugs?
I think we have said in the world, in fact you can say it like that, the best way to prevent people from using drugs is to forbid it, to make a law where we say, okay, it's forbidden to use, it's forbidden to treat, it's forbidden to produce, it's forbidden to sell.
But are we making any commercial gain out of this whole thing?
Well,
I mean, the economy, is it improving? Is it boosting our economy?
Well, then you are talking about legalization, for example, and then you can say, would it be better to legalize cannabis, for example, to make a law where you legalize cannabis and then where people can produce it and then can sell it, and well, that is of course a big discussion. Should you do that, or should you do it, or should you do it not? And in fact, in the world, we have said no. Every country says no. We are going to forbid it. And if people violate the law, we put them in prison.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what happens in the United States. And for example, in Colombia, we have a president in Colombia, and in Colombia they make a lot of cocaine, and he wants to legalize it.
Wow.
He said he is telling to the people maybe it is better to legalize. You know. So there are different views on this matter. Sometimes people say maybe it is with cannabis, maybe it's better to legalize it. We also have legalized alcohol. Alcohol is a legal substance and we have a lot of problems with it. So we are not consequent, in fact, in the world. We legalize alcohol, but we don't legalize the other substances. So it's a discussion. What is the best way to deal with these problems? And of course, if you can make a very tough law.
Yeah.
Also, if you legalize it, you can legalize it, but then at the same time say, okay, but we are going to raise a lot of taxes so that it becomes quite expensive.
Wow.
So you can also do different things. But I think comparing to the United States, we are quite liberal with cannabis. But there are no difference in use. In the United States, cannabis is as much used as here. So there it's forbidden, here we are liberal, but it makes no difference.
Well,
the same number of people are using.
Well, we'll be taking a very short break right now, but we encourage you to stay on tune and give us a call if you want at 020-737-1619 and ask any of your questions to our special guest.